Hey, John, it's a first of its kind move. The New York City Rent Guidelines Board just voted for a rent freeze for 1- and 2-year leases. This is the first time ever that the city has frozen 2-year leases for rent stabilized apartments. And before this, they'd only voted to freeze 1-year leases 3 times ever.
They're not even hiding the bias anymore. The mayor had campaigned on a rent freeze. He appoints 75% of the board, and now he's got his hand on the scale. If we keep eroding one side of the equation, something's got to give, and the people in those buildings are going to suffer.
That's exactly how every communist, socialist community starts. It's the elite, and then all of you bums at the bottom of the barrel, struggling every day. That's exactly how they want it to happen. Go to TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com, TatumStore.com. Go get you some merch. We got some 250 merch too. Y'all go there, check it out. And this is in honor of the baseball players and everybody that want to stand up for what's right biblically. And that we did these 2 hats. Shout out to John Root, because the black hat is the one he came up with. So if you support that and when you want to go get one of those Genesis hats, just put Root in and you'll get 15% off. That's just the Genesis hat. Me and him partnered on that one. So put Root in. That'll give him credit for the hat. He came up with the hat. And it's a killer hat. I'm going to send these to some baseball players. But if you want to get it, it's on the store right now, ready and available. If you don't know what Romans 1:27 is, if they put Romans 1:27 on that hat, then people will be crying in the middle of the street. But if you don't know what it is, go look it up. If you guys don't feel stupid and have buyer's remorse yet, you will. Freezing rent is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It's a virtue signal, ladies and gentlemen. And I said this, and you heard it from B. Tatum first, unless you watched the media and the news and somebody else said it. But I think I'm one of the only ones that's putting this together. They only want to do rent control because they know that landlords are not going to be able to afford to maintain these buildings because they cannot raise the rent with raising costs that they have to incur. And what they're going to do is bankrupt these landlords, and then the state is going to take over, or the city is going to take over the housing. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They want to transfer wealth from people having private ownerships to the government owning and running everything. And then what's going to happen is that you're going to end up paying for your own housing through tax revenue. They're going to tax the out of you, and that's going to be your new housing. I'm telling you, that's what's going to happen. Or the young lady said it. I can't take credit for it, but after this clip, I'm going to play what the young lady said, and I think that she's accurate about it. Roll it.
Hey, John, it's a first of its kind move. The New York City Rent Guidelines Board just voted for a rent freeze for 1- and 2-year leases. This is the first time ever that the city has frozen 2-year leases for rent stabilized apartments. And before this, they'd only voted to freeze 1-year leases 3 times ever. This move affects nearly 1 million units. It passed 7-1 after the board's only pro-landlord representative, Christina Smith, resigned in protest just hours before the vote. Landlords say even before rent freezes, they struggle to maintain rent-stabilized buildings. That is why small family landlord Natalia Bonanno decided to list the last of her family's buildings for sale a week ago, before the vote even happened. She had no trust in the process or in her city.
This just shows that the Rent Guidelines Board is not as nonpartisan and apolitical as they make themselves out to be. There was no reason, no data to support this type of rent freeze. All the data shows the cost of everything is going up, including taxes and insurance, and they still chose to just fulfill the mayor's campaign promise.
Bonanno has had 2 buildings on the market for months and listed the last 3 last week. She's been unable to sell any of them. And now there are concerns that this could be part of the larger plan to turn rent-stabilized buildings into government-owned housing.
Yep.
This appears to be the plan because the next plan they want to pass is the ability for the city to intervene on the sale of these properties. The city will then dictate who you can sell your building to. So this does seem to be overall the goal of the housing advocates who just don't believe in private property.
The rent freeze is expected to face legal challenges, but as of now, it's going to start for leases that begin October 1st.
It's exactly what they're going to do to you. All of these people that have built businesses over the last 20, 30 years are going to take a hit because they're going to freeze the rent on millions of people. And although your taxes are not frozen, right? Why can't the city freeze taxes on landlords? and say, we'll freeze your taxes if you freeze the rent. Why? No, listen to me when I say this. Why don't they do that? Because if your goal is to help the people who are residents who live in these places, to help them with affordability, why can't you do both and say, as a landlord, if you don't raise rent, we will give you a tax credit? But they don't want that because they don't give a about these people. They want the landlord to bankrupt because they're not going to be able to fix anything because they don't have discretionary income anymore. And they know that. They're going to impose restrictions on landlords and say, hey, you're a slumlord because you haven't made any innovations in the last 6 months, and we're going to fine you for that. And so they're going to end up bankrupting all of these people who own these buildings. One or two things is going to happen. One is that they're going to go bankrupt and the state is going to own the property. Now, what does the state do with the property? The state cannot function and own and run the property without using your money. Rich people ain't paying that money. So you, the average person, is going to fork out more taxes and everything is going to be more expensive. And then you're going to have to pay for your own rent. When it started out saying we're going to freeze rent for rent affordability, we're going to tax the wealthy and all that, and then you're going to end up with the bill. That's exactly how every communist, socialist community starts. It's the elite, and then all of you bums at the bottom of the barrel struggling every day. That's exactly how they want it to happen. I'm just telling you, and I hope that you hear me. Go and look at anything. Billionaires are not paying taxes like you say. There's loopholes that they're never going to fix in the tax code. And when I'm a billionaire, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm not paying no taxes if I don't have to. So just so you know, this is what these billionaires that live in New York are doing. They left already. They can move their company and get $1 billion, $6 billion investment in Miami. They are playing with house money. These people are not paying with their own money. Elon Musk and all these billionaires don't have $1 billion in their bank account. They have $1 billion of net worth in the stock of the company that they own. And all they do is go to a bank and get a line of credit, or they get something else and they live off that. They never pay taxes on that money. Now, they may pay $1 billion of taxes in corporate tax, but they find loopholes and stuff to get around that too. So you're going to be paying for it. You can't have socialism without capitalism because you can't have socialism without capital. The government is not raising and making money. It's independent, privately owned businesses that are making all the money that they tax, and then that's how the government functions. I'm warning y'all. Look at this fool playing with y'all's money in the refrigerator. Roll it.
New York, the Independent Rent Guidelines Board just froze the rent. That means if you're one of the more than 2 million New Yorkers who lives in a rent-stabilized apartment, your rent's going to be frozen next year.
And your refrigerator going to be just like his. Your rent's going to be frozen and your refrigerator going to have nothing in it but a freaking ice cream that wasn't even in a wrapper with no food. Did you notice he had no food in that refrigerator? That's what your refrigerator gonna look like. Here's I believe this is a landlord articulating why this is a problem. Roller clip.
They're not even hiding the bias anymore. The mayor had campaigned on a rent freeze. He appoints 75% of the board, and now he's got his hand on the scale. If we keep eroding one side of the equation, something's got to give, and the people in those buildings are going to suffer. So there has to be some kind of fairness and recognition of the math.
All right, here's a young lady. She had something to say too, and I think her explanation was good.
Freeze isn't going to save the buildings that tenants live in. It's going to actually destroy them. Freezing rent doesn't freeze costs. The landlord's property taxes, insurance, utilities, maintenance, all of those fees go up. But the rent he could charge to pay for all that is just locked. So what happens? Repairs stop, capital improvements stop, the building begins to decay. Eventually, maybe the landlord sells to a developer who tears down the entire thing, and then they just put a luxury complex there. The 2019 Tenant Protection Act already broke the math on rent stabilization. A freeze on top of that is the kill shot. And the people who will pay for it are the exact tenants who voted for it. Freezing rent doesn't keep you in your apartment. It just changed who owns it, and then you get kicked out.
Which is very interesting. I think people are not thinking about that. You know how they call it gentrification? There's a lot of places where people would love to have that real estate to put high-end residents there. There's a lot of people that live a little too far out of the city. They'll love to come live down the street in one of these places that's nice and have a nice little park where they can walk. And all of you poor people, they won't. You're not going to live there. They're going to have people that got money that live there, and they're going to move you out, and you're not going to be able to afford it. Like, there's ways around. I'm telling you guys this. There's ways around this stuff that rich people do all the time, and they're going to do you in if they want to. Rich people never lose. Business owners never really lose. They'll take their business and go somewhere else, and then they'll sell that business. And I wonder if they're going to be able to do this. If you go sell a business, you may have to actually sign new leases with all these people. And so when you go to sell a business, you sign new leases. Will the rent freeze still be applicable? I don't know. We'll find out.